Hello, this is Whatsawhizzer. Hopefully everything is going live. Maybe I started too soon. Now let's try it. Everything's loaded. Hello, this is Whatsawhizzer. Once again, I am back again. I try to do this twice a year, although I think lately I've only been doing it about once a year. Where I just touch base with everyone. I do a survey, and then I go through the responses. Um, to some I do try to do every 6 months. Last year was kind of a crazy year. I ended up picking up a lot of hours. Volume up. Good. Good, good. Is that better? I can also get my mic way closer to my mouth. I'm not even near my limit yet. Alright. Is that better? Alright, sounds good. Yeah, I just do these twice a year. I try to, just touch base with everyone, let them know what I'm thinking, what I'm doing, give people a chance to ask questions. Um, I know there's only going to be like 4 or 5 people who watch, but, maybe another 10 or 20 will watch it on a bored Saturday night and might learn or think of something that they can, help with. I like doing the surveys because the surveys tend to be one of the few times I get honest feedback from people, and sometimes that's the positive as much as the negative because I don't necessarily hear if people are happy with a lot of the writings either. So it's always nice once in a while to hear people are enjoying what I'm writing. Um, I like to show the website. Um, because a lot of people watch the site on a lot of different things, and you never quite know what people are necessarily doing. Every page loads differently, so this is what it's supposed to look like. If your site looks like this, then it's loaded correctly. If your site's not looking like this, then you might want to give us a shout out. We can try to figure out what's going on wrong with your site. Um, there's a lot of people who get very confused by the site. I'm never quite sure why. If you want to look for novels, you click novels here. So I got 47 web novels on my site that are written to one level or another. If you're looking for different tags, you can tag them this way. Now tags I know aren't perfectly up to date. There's been a lot of specifically with unlocking and stuff. We've changed things that were free to locked, and then we've changed other things from locked to free. So it's currently not perfectly accurate. So I need to go back and redesign that. We've kind of been playing around with the idea of locking up a lot of stuff that I originally put out for free, just because it's been out there for a few years now, and it might as well be monetized and help encourage. I mean, if I give everything out for free constantly, then I'm never going to have anything that's going to encourage people to become members. So if I lock up stuff, people who are interested at the time and were supporting me verbally, they got the advantage of getting to read it for free because they happen to be supporting me along the way. And then people who want to read it once it's already been a few years, it's kind of, hey, maybe you could buy the book. That's kind of the whole point is to support the author by buying their books. Speaking of which, yeah, I'm very aware I have not been putting out a lot of books lately for Amazon or for my site. I think I published one like 6 months ago, and the last one was probably a year before that. Um, I wish I had a good reason for you. It's just very difficult to disconnect and start doing that because it's kind of a completely different task from just writing and publishing and putting out stuff. Because I gotta find an editor who's willing to go through and edit everything. Now I have an editor right now that does all my site stuff, and I'm if you stick with the same editor for everything, I kind of feel like then you're getting their weaknesses. But I got a pretty decent editor, so if I just paid him more to edit the stuff, it would probably in general be fine. I just I don't know. I would like to. I have to get the editor. Then there's usually have to come up with. Well, you have to come up with the book cover, which for the most part I have book covers available. I'm not always happy with some of them, and I've had to redesign them a few dozen times. Then there's the summary, and then you have to find out the best words, because Amazon will lock you out if you use the wrong words, and so will other search engines. So you kind of have to do an entire thing on getting the right wording. And once you get that, you have to enter all that in, and then pump it. And then you need like 3 or 4 different versions of the book. So we've started putting out 4 different versions of every ebook. The original 3 were Mobi, EPUB, and PDF, and I think we started putting out a 4th version now. I think it's called AW something or another. I don't know. But anyway, they all have to be made separately. There's no easy way to just insta-make them all and have them all be the same, so they all have to be checked. I usually make the PDF one myself, just because there's a couple of extra steps I like to add. I like to add the proper chapter structuring, so that when you open it as a PDF, you can actually skip ahead to future chapters. And I like to lock it so that so people can't just print it wholesale. So yeah, all that has to be done, and then only then you have to publish it. I have to publish it 3 different places. So I have to publish it on Amazon, I have to publish it on my website, and then I have to publish it. It's not Smashwords anymore. Apparently their parent company has taken over. I don't even know what they're called at the moment, but yeah, it's just a lot of extra work to monetize it that I usually would prefer to spend writing. It'd probably take about 8 hours of work to get a book published and out, not including the editing for whoever I sent it to edit. So they'd have to get the whole edit done. That would take them probably about a month. And then once I get that edited thing, it would take me another 8 hours or so before I'd ultimately be happy with it. And I used to be able to do that like twice a month. Like I used to do it quite a bit, but ever since I've been working, it's just very difficult to have that free time. I was able to, the last one I put out was during the summer, so I wasn't working during that time. But I only get 2 months of summer, and I got other jobs to do during the summer too, because that's also the only time I have to work on the farm and do the stuff my wife wants. So, my wife asks for a lot of stuff for her animals and setting up her farm and getting that stuff done. So, plus I just don't have as much energy as I used to. Like, I don't know. I hit 40. That was February 4th was my birthday, and I hit 40, the big 40. And I just, last 5 years I've been feeling getting old, because I used to have a lot more energy when I was in my 20s and 30s, early 30s. And then just the last 4 or 5 years, I just felt like I don't have any. I don't know. Maybe I got to work out more or do something to try to reclaim that energy, but I just have not had a lot. Anyway, how are we doing? 12 views, 5 concurrent viewers. Yeah, that's about right. Alright, so I don't even know if I mentioned it. Oh, Coco did, so it's been announced. Alright, in that case, once again, there's the website, this is how you use it. novels. If you need memberships, it's there. If you need the store, it's there. If you go to any novel, you can, first off, you got this list, which is pretty much a summary of everything, but you also can see the tags on it right there if you hover over. And when you go into the novel, you got your chapters released. You can see what people comment on the novel as a whole. Some of these are automatically posted from Discord, but not sure if that's even functioning anymore. If you want to buy the ebooks are right there. You can also get them at the store. And if you want to see the pictures are right there. That's your gallery. That lets you see the pictures. Sorted by volumes from the beginning to the end. If you need to start at the beginning, you can just reverse order it. And there you go. Reverse order it. And now we got the latest chapter right here. So all that's really simple. If you don't see this icon, you only get to see this icon, I think, at the $25 tier. This allows you to download a really rough copy of all of it. So you'll get to download volume 1 through volume 28. But it's like just a notepad document just for people who can't read online and need to take it. I've had a few soldiers ask for it, so I leave it at the $25 tier because it's very easy to strip mine my entire site using that button. Thankfully, half the books are not available for the download novel for offline. Any book that you can buy in the ebook store, I just expect you to buy in the ebook store, so I'm not going to make those available for download. But I know there's a lot of books that I haven't gotten to yet. I think we're only at like volume 17 on MDL, so there are a lot of volumes I'm behind that could get put out. It's just I don't know when I'm gonna get the time and the energy to do it. I would love to find a person I could trust to do it, but finding a person I can trust to do all that work, and also it's gonna be giving them the keys, pretty much to my Amazon. I mean, they're gonna be literally in my Amazon storefront. Literally that's. I wish someone in my family would do it. I've asked my wife to, but she's kind of not. She's got her own working and doesn't really seem to be interested in it. Because I know, in my prime when I was sending out those Amazons, I was making like a good $2,000-$3,000. Right now, I make about $200 a month on ebook sales. So ebook sales can actually be substantial, and I know I'm just shooting myself in the foot not doing it. But I don't know. It's just a weird thing. I just can't seem to get it going anymore. Anyway, I do hope to. I do really want to get those books out. I'm sitting on Moth Volume 2. I wanted to give it a read through one more time, to try to do a little bit of editing. And Tales of an Enchantress has been more or less finished for probably 3 years now. It's just sitting in perma because it's such a large book, and it really just took a really long time to go through. Did I ever release Tales? I don't think I did. And then there's Moth Volume 3, which I'm going to rewrite the ending of, so that's going to be a commitment too. I don't know. Every time I have a week off, I mostly just use it to catch up from previous times, because, I'll either get sick or I'll have issues with family or issues just really busy. Like I got the 26th off, and then I'll have that entire week off the following week. But then that week I'm getting surgery. I'm getting pretty much my nose fixed. My nose has a deviated septum, and I snore a lot, and I can't breathe through my nose very well, and I'm hoping to be able to have a better night's sleep, and maybe, hey, who knows, maybe a better night's sleep is going to help me have more energy and do the rest of the stuff. But yeah, so I have that happening at the end of the month, and then And so that's that week lost. This last week, I had off the February 1st through the 7th. I had my birthday. We lost water, so I had an entire week I didn't have water in my house. 2 weeks I didn't have any water in my house because the water line froze and we couldn't get it thawed, and we couldn't get anyone to help us get it thawed, and we just couldn't have water for 2 weeks. It was real messy. We're still trying to recover from that because the house is just, dishes built up to the extreme, and I had to go to my grandparents to do laundry, or my parents to do laundry, so something always comes up, it seems. 'Tis the life, I guess. Anyway, let's go into the survey. So I do the surveys. I usually try to divide them up. They're usually designed where you start out here, and then when you ask how do you currently access my content, if you're accessing it for free, you get kind of shoved into one direction. You get shoved into the non-membership stuff, and if you access it as a membership, you'll get shoved in the membership stuff. I think I accidentally had an issue where I didn't have it shoving people in the right direction, and so a bunch of people ended up getting the membership section. I fixed that on like the first day, but I still had like 20 people respond. I only got 76 in all, and it's still kind of depressing. Only getting 76. Even with my views, I only got 5 or 6 concurrent views, but I used to get a lot more responses. Like when I did surveys back in the day, I mean, some of these back in like 2021 era, I would get 248 responses. I mean, there was a time I was getting 400 responses when I did these surveys, and now I only get 70. And I'm like, well, I don't know why everyone who doesn't pay doesn't at least do the survey so you can have some input into what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. Because you can always just say, oh, you can do whatever you want, but I'm like, I get that, but I'm also, I'm amendable. I don't have to work on any specific novel. There's a lot of different novels I enjoy working on at different times. And sometimes I'll really enjoy a novel for a period of time, and then I'll hit a section where I'm like, I don't really like where I've written myself. And then I slow down or like it less. So it's kind of always changing for me. Anyway, what I try to do is I try to send people to different sections so that I'm only asking the Patreon Subscribe Star people about the Patreon Subscribe Star button, and so there's anyone who doesn't read my stories, like has only read one book or whatever, I'll usually just send them to the end of the survey, which means that even though this is 76, there's probably about 20 less replies than that after the first few questions. But once again, that's just how it rolls. And you notice here that this is kind of what I see a lot with a lot of questions. It's a very mixed bag. There's never any prevalent, very clear, like, oh, this is the direction I need to go. I go here and it's just like, okay, so I'm getting a lot of readers from Scribble Hub, at least for this particular survey. You used to be Machine Sliced Bread was the biggest one, so Machine Sliced Bread is rolled back quite a bit. And Royal Road is another one that's getting quite a few. I'm actually surprised by this because this used to be one of the smaller ones. So those are my major things. And that's probably my biggest problem here, is that this is where I'm getting most of my readers from. And they're not very big sources. I was really hoping that with releasing stuff on Web Novel, I'd be getting more readers from Web Novel, and I'm really not. And that's a shame, because Web Novel's the one that gets the most traffic, at least according to them. And so that's kind of depressing. I'm sorry, maybe COVID affected things. Yeah, back then, I mean, COVID certainly had a pull on it, but my numbers were going up before COVID. Like, we were looking at it, and like in 2019, my numbers were exploding, and I was getting 300, people, and it kept going up through 2021, and then 2022 it started dropping. So it was going up before COVID. COVID definitely helped maintain that momentum, but I don't think it was the only thing at play there. Because like I said, 2019 I was seeing massive gains too. Right before COVID-19 came out. Anyway, yeah, I wish I knew a better place to PR. PR has been the bane of my existence since I started here, and I don't know. I got kind of that blacklisting where they treat me like adult, and then has anyone been to Steam recently? Like Steam, the video game website. Holy moly, do they just put the porn like everywhere now? Like you go to Steam, like I don't know if any of you have realized this. Like I have kids, so this is like something this did not exist when I was a big video gamer when I was a teenager. But you go to Steam, and yeah, the front site looks fine. But you go to like now and trending, and like some of the now and trending stuff is gonna be like sex stuff, or you go to top sellers. I mean, you don't have to look hard. Of course, today I'm gonna look, and it's not gonna show me any of that. But it's actually shocking. Like, and then you just click it, and it's like immediate erotica. Like it's not like hidden anymore. Like they used to have it some obscure name like Pleasure Paradise Island or something, but now it's literally like sex game having sex, and then it's like you click it, it's immediately like I'm not even gonna try to look for one because it literally is erotica. And I'm like, my kids are on this site. This is freaking ridiculous. I don't know. That's crazy. I don't know. I'm noticing now here though that it's not. And it's probably because I'm not signed into my own account, and I'm in an account that's 18 plus. So maybe that's why. But I'm just saying that because it's like I'm constantly having to fight with PayPal. And, I spent years having to justify my own existence. Stripe tried to cut me out and say I wasn't allowed to deal with them because my stuff was inappropriate. Patreons tried to kick me off twice. I mean, but here you got Steam just literally openly distributing porn to children. And, oh, that's cool. That's fine. They make a lot of money, so we're not going to look their way. I don't know. Just something that annoys me. Anyway, how do you typically read my content? This was something, Coco wanted to see. Looks like mostly phone with about half of them being PC. So like I said, it's pretty balanced. I wouldn't say we'd want to focus on one or the other specifically with that ratio. Text to speech is interesting. That I wish I would have thought to of writing if there's more people using that kind of material, because that's stuff that you can make or break based on how you design the site. Do you have to follow the release guide? This is one I was interested in. I figure most people just check whenever they remember, but I didn't want to see how many people are checking and how often they're checking, and I do see there are people who wait for 9 p.m. and I think most of these people are probably in the number 2 tier, because I mean the $2 tier, the bottom tier, because I usually get pretty good about changing from gold to silver, or the $5 tier they could be in, as far as setting that up. And then as far as getting it to release at 9 p.m., that's really based on my writing. Even now, I know I didn't do Friday. I'm like a day behind. I just finished Friday's writing, by the way. I need to put it out. But I'm doing this first. But, yeah, I put Friday out, and, or I got Friday done, but it was supposed to be out 9 p.m. yesterday. It's just, I'm a day late on it. That happens a lot with how things currently are. I have a question later on going on how you guys want me to deal that. We can deal with that when we see that question. How do you currently access my content? Once again, that's the one that sorts everybody out. If you access from Patreon, I wanted to ask how you have issues with Patreon. My biggest worry was seeing any yellows that I can't use it. It gives me too many issues. Although that's kind of an oxymoron, because if you can't use it and it gives you too many issues, then you probably already dropped it and wouldn't be one of the people on this list. So that's kind of a dumb question in the first place. A little statistical problem for me. We are currently working on a Mark II for buttons, and when I say currently working, I mean pretty much done. It's not going to help you if you're a Subscribe Star. Subscribe Star is going to continue to work the same, but for Patreon, as far as how I understand it, it will work automatically. It will be tied to your email address, and he's going to pretty much put it into motion this Monday. So 2 days, you're going to see it, and it's gonna be hopefully better. It means you're pretty much not gonna have to do anything once you have your site, you have your Patreon. They'll connect, and you will have continued uninterrupted membership access without a need to renew. Right now, the biggest issue we have is on the 29th, 30th, and 31st of any given month. You can't renew it. You can't use the sync button for reasons. I don't really understand the reasons, but Coco does. If you want to ask him, it's something to do with how they recycle stuff. But that annoys a couple people, or has caused issues where people lose access for a day or two. And hopefully, with the way it is now, you should have access. There is the circumstances where you might lose access for a day, but when it automatically renews every day, you should regain access, because it pretty much will check daily for it. So everyone should be good. That's what Patreon people have seemingly been asking for since the beginning, that as hands off as humanly possible, and that seems to be what this is. So hopefully that satisfies my Patreon fans. So Subscribe Star, if you're using Subscribe Star, you're already trying to go behind the system anyway, so you're probably already familiar with it not being as smooth sailing, but yeah, for those who need to use Subscribe Star, by all means, continue to use them. Occasionally people will ask me which is the best, like for me, what do I keep the most money for? And I really have no clue. I would presume Patreon and Subscribe Star are not the better options. That the best option would probably be Stripe, because PayPal's cranked up their price a few times. I don't think Stripe has. So Stripe is probably the best, which is just using a credit card just generically. And if you can't use Stripe, I don't know. Patreon might be better for smaller amounts. I've asked, and I've never gotten a really clear answer on it. Because they serve very small amounts, and so I don't know if that makes it better. This is the familiarity. This is pretty much, if you only read once or twice, this kind of filters everybody out who shouldn't really be doing this survey, because there's always people who love to click a survey they're not really expected to do. Why are you not a paying member? I'm just trying to. Yeah, I like this one. I'm Coco Addict, but yeah, that would be a good reason. You already got access to everything. I don't. You know, it's fine. You don't have money. You're getting your content for free. That's all fine. I'm not trying to force people to members. I really only want you to be a member if you want to support me as a writer. I don't like strong arming people very much. That's kind of why I've left most of my content free for so long. My only issue is that I was hoping, back in 2019 when I built this business model, that I would see kind of a steady growth, even if it's a slow growth, that it would just be a steady growth. And instead, I had that explosion after COVID, and then things started peeling back. and it's slowly become an increasing problem. Once again, I have a solution to that problem, would be popping out ebooks. And for all I know, popping out ebooks might actually increase everything else too, because if it increases my visibility on Amazon, it might increase the number of members I get, who you never know. Because most of my ebooks now, since I haven't corrected any of them, are actually the links in them are incorrect. They don't actually take me to my website. Not a single link on any of my ebooks takes me to the proper website, because after we switched the website with Cocoa Addict, the link changed slightly, and so all those links are dead links. And yeah, I can see how that might cause cause me to get less readers. But it would be a lot of work going through every single book I already have out and fixing the links and then re-uploading them all. It's definitely a project. One I probably should plan for this summer. I think that would be a good thing to work on. Otherwise, anyone caring to know why they're not being unemployed, it's fine. I don't, like I said, I only want your money if you're willing to give it to me, kind of thing. I do need money to a certain extent. That's why I got, other jobs. If I was making more, I wouldn't need those jobs. I could do this full time. I was doing this full time for a while. And then, like I said, there were a combination of me. Basically what happened was that in 2021, I decided to get a job teaching because I was at home all the time and I felt like I could do a small job on the side without affecting writing for so much. And for the most part, it didn't really cause a problem. In 2022, when I moved down here, what I really wanted health insurance. Because my wife has been having to work in order to maintain health insurance, and it would be really nice if I could get a job and pay health insurance. Now, I can get, ACA and try to get health insurance through that, but it's costs a lot amount. Like, we're talking, last I checked, it was like $1,800 a month. So nearly $2,000 to have health insurance for my family. And that's just the insurance. That doesn't actually cover. You're still going to get charged if you ever have to go to a health. Yeah, we all know America is jacked with how they handle health insurance. But anyway, I had to work. I got a full-time job working as a teacher at the Hillsborough Christian School. Because that probably doxed me a little bit, but oh well. I went to that school because my kids, I wanted to put them in that school. We were kind of in this situation where the kids needed more management. They were both having a lot of trouble thriving in school, and so we decided to switch up schools and try a private school. So I worked there so I could send them to school. So it didn't pay very well, and it was a full-time job. And with that, I started writing less because I was doing this full-time job. And then the writing less caused me to make less, which then kind of snowballed. And so, my memberships, my stats has been dropping kind of every year. It's been going a little bit lower until I had to start working. And then in 2024, I ended up with two jobs. One job to get health insurance, and then another job because I needed that extra money to kind of keep affording things. And basically during that period of time from in 2023 when I wasn't working, what ended up happening was I ended up owing a lot of taxes. And so I'm about $20,000 in the tax hole as a result of having less money and not being able to put it into taxes. So that's how I was able to survive it so far. But then, like I said, everything just compounded on things, And now I'm at my current state where it's like, I'm just kind of hopeful because I'm like, all it'll take is one book suddenly taking off or going viral or just something happening where I get some kind of recognition or appearance. Or maybe that'll never happen because my stuff's erotica, but then again, plenty of erotica based stuff has like exploded and done really well. The biggest book that everyone's talking about was that Milking Farm one or whatever. Of course, that's going after a female audience, so maybe I should be going after a female audience. I don't know. Someone made a good idea to me that a good book I should write would be Ice falling. Ice the immigration people having someone who works for ICE falling in love with a protester and writing that as a girly romance book. I don't know. I think about such things because it'd be nice if I could just get that, because it's a PR thing, it's a putting out books thing, if I could get my payments back to what they were in 2021, 2022, my income, I would be fine. I probably wouldn't even need a job. I could probably stay at home and work full time. But I don't know. Nothing seems to work that way. And there's been times I've had off, like I said, and that ended up getting me into tax debt. And I spent 6 months improving my writing and getting back up there, and I didn't see the same improvement of people coming back for the. So I don't know. I'm kind of in a funk. Even with all the improvements we've made, I mean, the site is leagues better than it used to. We got all these features. Patreon's finally, a day away from being perfect. And I don't know. The site just, I mean, it's not been going down necessarily. It just hasn't been moving in probably a year and a half. It's just been all this extra work just kind of has kept things even. And that's why I ended up doing things like dropping the premium polls and stuff. I guess that was the roundabout way of explaining why I'm trying to change things up, because what I've been doing hasn't been working, so we need to consider trying something else. So taking off more time and concentrating on ebooks, that might be what I have to do. Maybe I need to take, I don't know, because then you take out more time, and then the memberships go down, and if the memberships go down, then I'm going to even harder straits. So I don't know. I never know what the best option is. Anyway, does this help at all? Payment options. This was just for people who didn't know that they could pay. I'm just telling them information. I use the survey also, not just as a means for me to find out information, but for you guys to find out information, because a lot of people on Scrabble Hub and stuff who just have no clue I have a website, have no clue I have books. So, I just do that stuff. Yeah, I know about the non-erotica, but MDL doesn't, like, it has, the only erotica MDL is a side chapter once a volume, and like you didn't have to put that up, right? So why was it dragged down? I don't really know, because I mean, for all intent and purposes, MDL is a non-erotica novel. It's not. I don't know why it was dragged. And you said it was just dragged down on X, so or not X, use TikTok. So I think it's a TikTok thing. That maybe there was a content thing where they didn't think it was the appropriate content, like they thought I was stolen or something. That's my thought. But I have no clue. I do agree getting YouTube videos, I think, might be, and maybe creating a video series or something. I did back in the day where I would review web novels, and I would review isekai specifically, and I would just do a review. Maybe I should do those as a video on YouTube. I could just do a quick, here's my thoughts on Against the Gods, and do, a review on Against the Gods of what I think of what it's about, what I think about it. Because I find, like, when I was doing, I mean, the reason I made that list in the first place was back when back, way back, I was translating for Arifureta, and even before that, I was starting to get really into isekai, and I'd find there would be a lot of them I would skip because the explanations were not very good on the summary, and you read it and you have no clue what it's about, and then you just skip it, and then eventually I come around to reading it because I was bored one evening. I'm like, hey, this is actually a really good novel, and so I wanted something that had a bit more substance to it. So I made that giant list, which kind of sort of got lost. I don't even know if it's on the website anymore. I was going to bring it back in a different form, and I think I just got distracted. It never happened because I was gonna make a big list isekai. There's a big giant isekai. I was actually gonna make a unique novel, and I was gonna have each chapter be one a review for one of the things. But I haven't done reviews since 2016, so we're talking 10 years, and I'm not sure I have the time to read that many novels. Actually, I do, because I don't read the novels manually. I use text to speech in my car because I'm driving an hour to work every day, so that gives me 2 hours a day. I could potentially knock off one isekai after another. It doesn't work if the translation's really bad because it's, it compounds, the AI reading. But, yeah, I could potentially do that. Definitely on my side, I could do the isekai list again. I would, imagine doing the YouTube videos would require more. I'd almost need to have I need to have an editor, and that involves putting out more money, right? So I need a guy who could edit my videos and make them into something, because I don't have the time to do that. I mean, 100%, I just don't have the time to do that. So I would almost need an editor, a full-time editor for me, and that's once again another expense I don't really have. I know you gotta spend money to make money, but it's just really hard when you're already living at your budget. I was throwing away a lot of money when I was making it in 2021 and stuff. I was playing with a lot of stuff, and a lot of it ended up getting wasted, to be honest. I put a lot of money into the harem card game that never went anywhere. I probably $1,000 easily. I put into getting pictures made for that. Most of the pictures are kind of crap, and I can make better stuff with AI now, so there's really no point. But I had multiple times tried to get that off the ground, and then there was the what was the other thing? My app, having an app. I tried to have a built app that costs like $1,500. I paid this guy, and also he could build me a barely functioning app that lasted for 3 months and then stopped working, and then he ghosted me and wouldn't respond. That was crappy. I've tried to hire full-time digital assistants before. There was a guy originally who was going to pay $1,500, but he then turned around and ghosted me for 2 weeks. Like, he didn't say anything, he didn't do anything. I'm like, I'm paying you $1,500 a month, pretty much a full-time salary, to work for me, and you can't come up with anything to do, without me directly leading you. I mean, that's not going to help me. So, I didn't end up paying him the whole thing. We discussed it, and I prorated him a little bit of the money. But, yeah, so it's just, I mean, I tried stuff, a lot of stuff just didn't work, but now I just don't have the money to waste. Maybe I should have never wasted the money in the first place. Maybe I'd be in a better situation if I was more conservative and just put all the money away. I don't know. What's the favorite story from what we've written? This is always one of my more important questions. And it's usually my dungeon life that wins out by a far margin. For non-readers, definitely. Even for readers, it's usually that one. This is always kind of tricky because there's always that balance between, is the novel free? Can you read it? I don't know. So I like this story. This is a little bit better because this allows me to sort out kind of what's important to you as a non-member reader, and My Dungeon Life is still everyone's most important novel. This is interesting that Bacterium is not scoring higher. That I find very interesting. You would think with how Bacterium is scoring on the site that it would be the highest, second highest on this list, but Apocalypse is actually beating it. And, honestly, so is Oops. This one's also beating it. So, that I find very interesting. A lot of people just don't want to use 3 votes. They just don't have 3 stories they want. So this kind of tells me who is only reading, 2, but, I don't know. More Guy on a Spaceship could be nice. Do I have Guy on a Spaceship as one of these? I picked most of the ones on the list that I was invested in. I guess I forgot Guy. It probably should have been on this list. Tales of a Demon Queen, and then Pirate. Pirate. Yeah, well, there's still people who like Last Dread Pirate. I liked it. It had an interesting premise. It was definitely intended to be a larger building story. I like kind of Miles is one more interesting character to me than some of the others, which honestly makes people like him less because he's a very arrogant and kind of prickly guy, and he was full of himself, and that kind of was the whole point, is that he kind of morphs and becomes more serious and more adult as he goes, but I don't know. A lot of people were invested in the start of it because of that. I like the premise. I really like the idea of the slime making the skill balls and him using the skill balls to enhance his skills. I like that system I had built. Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't have I tried to make it feel as a piratey story, so it was supposed to eventually be a pirates, but it just never got too much popularity. I probably could put up a sponsor chapter, but I got a bunch of sponsor chapters. Like, I don't have any sponsor chapters pending, other than I do have somebody paid me for a large chunk of chapters, and I'm still sitting on like 5 of them, which I do want to start hitting off weekly until they're done. I'm glad he's a very patient, but he'll order like a batch of 20 chapters, and it'll take me like a year to finish them because of my timing, and he's very patient about it, and I'm very appreciative. But yeah, he'll just randomly and he'll usually try to support the stuff that's not getting supported to try to see, that's the reason that Ghost Story took off for a while. Which once again, there was a time where if I pushed out 12 chapters of a story, that story would have become popular. So like the Ghost Inside here, I did 15 chapters in a fairly short time, and I didn't get much feedback from anybody. Like, even on the surveys, there's not a growing group of people who want to read the story. I think it's a good story. I thought it'd be interesting. I thought people would like it, but I'm not getting any excitement over it. Same for Friend Zone. I finally feel like I unlocked a good story for Friend Zone, and yet, and wrote 12 chapters of it, and yet, it's not getting any excitement as well. So, I don't know. Hellbound, that's the one that I need to write. Like, there's about 4 more chapters. And then there's Down in Ohio. All of these, if somebody wanted to, they're open for sponsors. Not all of them, but a lot of these are open for sponsors. The guy who likes Rise of a Midnight was just lamenting because he donated $20 like a month ago, and no one else has donated anything. What I am hoping is if the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up a system where people who donate as memberships can have extra money they can use, and the money they can either use to buy ebooks. So instead of getting a free ebook credit, they'll get like a $5 credit, and they can use the $5 credit either to sponsor next chapters or as a membership here. They can't read the next book unless they sponsor the next chapter. So instead of the 15 pluses just all getting free, they're actually going to be sponsoring. It's going to make more work for me, honestly, but hopefully it drives more interest into the sponsoring program and gets more things sponsored, and that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see that stuff. Oh, by the way, you might have noticed this suddenly shot up. It isn't because a ton of people started donating. It's because he redid it. So in the past, if you were a Patreon member and you let Patreon, go bad, or you let your membership, you had to renew it, and there's just some people who don't. So every month it goes expired, and then just nobody renews it. And so since he's fixed that, or he's gone through that, now everybody is properly renewed. So this is, I guess, a more accurate representation of what I have as donators. And if you notice, this pops up over that rotation once a week. Now, I know I don't know. I have different thoughts on this. One is, I want active readers. So while it's nice, there's some $2 reader that's sitting back there that, has been sending money for 3 years. It's nice to have active readers too. So as far as that goes in that rotation once a week, I'm debating whether I want to swap that goal with something else. So since nobody donated extra to get there in the first place, hopefully no one will get angry at me if I switch this. But I'm thinking of switching it to Enslaved or Apocalypse. In that case, I would start writing a chapter of Apocalypse. I'm saying Apocalypse because Apocalypse is one of the more popular ones. So we can see if that works or not. Anyway, moving on. Which release strategy would you prefer the most? This is one of the bigger questions, newer questions I wanted to ask this time. Is how did people want to see it? And once again, if any one of these was like the absolute winner, it would tell me something. But it's always so evenly broken up. So some of you wanted multiple chapters releasing weekly for the most popular story. So this is basically what you mentioned earlier in the comments. This is focusing on one story and releasing more of it. This is kind of in the middle, releasing stories weekly but having, a lot of more stories. And then this is just the rotation. This is this guy here. This is 28%. It's the lowest amount. So I kind of feel like most people would prefer a weekly release rather than the rotations once per month. I'm sure the most people would want this one. But, honestly, if the most people want this one, that is not too far of a goal to reach. $400 is not too much to ask a goal, to be able to make this 5 times a week if I was going to go to that. So I'm going to leave that like that is. If that can be reached, then, people are welcome to reach it. Back when I started, like I said, 2018, 2019, when I made a stretch goal like that, the amount of donations just exploded. And ever since, now that I got this bar up, I was hoping there'd be at least some kind of motivation, but there really isn't. It's just I don't even think this is going to motivate anyone, because it didn't before. I even put out messages for people like, hey, it's and that's supposedly what everybody wants, even the non-donators. 15 people want My Dungeon Life. It could be your 5 times a week. You just got to get to that amount. But it's not been getting there. And supposedly there's a big group of people who want Enslaved too, and that hasn't been getting there. So, I don't know. So long story short, I'm thinking with this result that I would not do rotations here. I will switch to very possibly Apocalypse. Maybe I'll swap it out with Enslaved. We'll see. What might encourage you to be a better member, or I'm just be a member in general because it's still the non-member portion. More erotic art I find unlikely. I wouldn't give the erotic art to the free members anyway. Most of my erotic art is going to the, and there is erotic art. I mean, there's some novels that almost get it every chapter. They haven't been recently, and that's for some various reasons. But I will catch up eventually and go back and probably make sure they're all done. It's just time and willingness. Anyway, wider releases. So this is another kind of way to ask, do you want more different stories releasing, or do you want faster releases? And like I said, I never really get a strong answer one way or the other, no matter how I phrase it. Last one, how satisfied are you? I guess that's not the last one. That's the next thing. That's membership continued. So anyone who's writing a 1 or a 3, if you're at a 2, I don't know, why are you even a member? If membership is that miserable to you, that's surprising me. But it's only 29 of the 75 are actually members, so this is not like a strong, and there were only 20 with the non-members, 25 by the end. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. I'd expect most people to at least be a 5 or higher. I'm glad it's mostly an 8. It's sad. I was kind of hoping for more of a lean to the 9-10 era. So it seems 8. So there's not everyone is happy. Probably because my releases aren't as fast as they used to be. I mean, for anyone who knows, I was releasing 100,000 words a month reliably for years, and nowadays, like I said, it's about half that. But then again, the amount of money I'm making is about half that, so it's just the way it is. Back in the industrial area, I bought this membership so I could read Automatic Girlfriend, but so some people got memberships, and I'm just not working on the books they want being worked on. That seems to be the main issue, which is always the main issue with you have so many books going. How many books are you a member for? That's kind of a good question for me, because I hope most people are reading them for more than one book, but I guess there are some people who just want a specific book. What release strategy would you prefer most? This is the same question as up here. It's just this is for members versus non-members. See, that's always the thing. When it always gets to questions like, should I drop anything? People would never want me to drop anything. So they just want more stuff, but they don't want the loss of the stuff they're already getting, which it worked for a while. Like I said, I just kept compiling, doing more and more and more work, but eventually it just got to a point where I couldn't keep up and keep doing that much work. I mean, I can do 100,000 words a month. I can do 100,000 words a month if I'm not working. That's actually really easy for me, and that's not a problem. But when I'm working, it's very difficult to do. Alright, multiple chapters released weekly. And once again, it's very broken down the evening. Now, this is interesting. I find this funny, and it kind of makes sense. So the members actually have a stronger desire for the rotating release than the non-members, because the non-members, it was the lowest tier, and for the members, it was the highest tier. And I guess that kind of makes sense, because if you're a member, if you're paying and you want to be there, you're kind of already pushing for that desire to rotate. I don't know. It leads me back to wondering if I should keep rotation once a week. What people would want. Maybe I'll ask the question again, and just as a poll or something. I was originally going to ask a poll question every newsletter to just try to get extra general feedback outside of this thing. But I don't know. I just haven't. I've forgotten. Often I'll just ask a poorly worded question and I won't really learn much out of it. That's what I find happens a lot of the time. That's why I stick to these, because I slowly refine the same questions over time, make them better each year, and hopefully learn a little bit more what I actually want to know. So, once again, my dungeon life is the highest one. Now, Bacterium. So this almost tells me that Bacterium, that most of the people who are fans of Bacterium are also donating to read Bacterium, which is kind of a good thing to know. Because that means, if I would want more Bacterium, should probably be that. I could do that, have 2 Bacteriums a month be that. And that would honor the desire for one small story releasing multiple chapters, which is highly supported among and I don't know, that's because if I wrote 2 chapters a week, one of them would be silver and the other would be gold, so I could build up a gold for that. That might be what I do, because once again, like Apocalypse. So lots of people want to do, I don't know, Apocalypse 9. 9's not bad. 9's only 2 less than 11. I don't know. That might be, I might just put out a poll asking specifically between those 2, which would you want? Or the rotations. I guess stick with the rotations. So you guys can let me know whether you want a Bacterium. It's not Enslaved anymore. Enslaved is dropped, but maybe that's my fault, because Enslaved hasn't come out with a chapter in a very long time, and so things aren't going to be as popular lingering that long. I don't know. But I see a lot of these new ones, like all my news stories, even the ones that get 12, 15 chapters, are only 1 or 2 people. They're just not anyone's favorite, which is a shame, because I like a lot of them. I think they're pretty unique concepts with their own unique, like Ghost Within. It's just funny that he's just an idiot. The guy's just a very dumb guy. He's not like clever in any sense of the word. He's just kind of a moron. Down in Ohio, it's he's kind of this pretty, just jaded pretty boy. I kind of I like the uniqueness of those characters. They're a lot more or less generic than some of the others. Like, no offense to Lucas, but I think women like I Bang My Boy's Mom. I think he's a very generic high school kid. I don't think he's much different than what's his name from Apocalypse, and even my dungeon life. I don't think they're just fairly generic protagonists. But then those are the most popular stories, so maybe that's what I gotta write, are generic protagonists. I don't know. Hellbound's, I don't know, I'm still trying to develop how I want it to go. Like, I'm worried of going one direction and not liking that direction. That's why I haven't written those chapters yet. I want him to be angry and vengeful and kind of a bit of a horn dog in it. If people don't realize, and I'm just very honest about this, I take a lot of motivations from other stories. So, for example, I reincarnate a single-celled organism. The story that I'm taking a lot of motivation from is actually it's called Keyboard Immortal. It's the ones so if you want to read Keyboard Immortal, you'll probably can see where I get the influences, or where it is, because it's a very similar setup. Demon World's Brothel, I think. What did I base? I like. There's always something that I had, and my stuff grows into its own too. Apocalypse was, it's not easy making money in Apocalypse was just a mansion in the Apocalypse. That was my motivator there, which was in itself, stolen from Fallout. So, I'm not going there. But, I do different things with it. Because what happens is I'll read a story and I'll be like, I'll like the concept, but I won't like what they ultimately did with it. And so, I'll be like, I could write something better. And, and that's how I ended up with it. Automatic Girlfriend, obviously, as comparison to Chobits. Um, most of my stories, sadly, you could pretty much. I don't think NTR Isekai has a comparison. My Dungeon Life was actually what's that? Slave Girls in the Labyrinth, and they're nothing alike. Like you can't say that those stories are anything alike, but they were like originally when I wrote My Dungeon Life. It was Rise of the Slave Harem was because of that, because I hated that story so much that I wanted to write a better version of it that didn't make me uncomfortable. But yeah, I don't know. I recarried into the heroes. I think there's definitely a little bit of dungeon defense in there. Only in like how the character is. Like just I don't know. Like I said, it's not all encompassing or anything or like a 1-to-1. But anyway, what was again Hellbound? The one that I was taken from was that damn demon. That's definitely Hellbound is primarily gonna be motivated from. And then, like I said, once again, just saying something is an inspiration is not saying I'm copying it or something. It's just that's my inspiration. That's the story that kind of got me thinking about it. I can admit most of my stuff's probably derivative. Have I ever written anything that's 100% unique and 100% me? Oof, I don't know. Because everything gets motivated by something. I don't know. Friend Zone, Imma Nohata. That one I actually had been wanting to write my own version of Imma Nohata for a long time, but I could not come up with a recipe I liked. And I had like 3 different versions of Friend Zone and like 3 other novels besides that I tried. And you guys, like, I was honest with you guys, like, I was mixing up a lot of different things. And I finally got a recipe that I kind of like with the current Friend Zone. The biggest thing to me is to keep reminding myself to kind of stress the Friend Zone part of it. That he's, that he's friends with these women and making it believable that, he has these friendships with these women that, are just using him and abusing him to just kind of justify, the direction he goes. Because it's very easy to just, concentrate on the other part. And the other thing I want to write, World of Women, I wanted to write a story that kind of brings back that kind of aggressiveness with, and I was just recently thinking of a story that might work, although it's a Zenzia, and I don't know how much a lot of people like a Zenzia, but I was thinking of, and it was just recently, I've been thinking of this, like, earlier today, like a story where, and I've played with the idea once before, and it was not very popular, the way I wrote it. That could have been because of the way I wrote it. It wasn't really what I wanted to write. It was kind of just a concept. The what I'm talking about is Dual Cultivation Wing. It was a story that I wrote where kind of this scummy disciple convinces a woman. But the idea is I want to write a Zenzia where the guy is pretty much a scummy guy who kind of convinces women, and he's able to do it because he has a dual cultivation method that actually doesn't hurt the women. So it's a very similar story. I guess, to Rise of the Midnight King, where he got a dual cultivation method that happens to be positive towards women. So, you know, a lot of them, it's like, oh, they tap women, they use women as a mortal furnace. And if you know Zenzia, you know what I'm talking about. You know, the woman becomes a cultivation resource in and of herself, and then there's the dual cultivation that actually helps her and doesn't hurt her. And I wanted to write an entire story based off that. And I don't know if I should, because Rise, like I said, it already exists in Rise of the Midnight King. But Rise of the Midnight King is not about that. In fact, there's still a lot of people who like Rise of the Midnight King, and what it's about isn't even really manifested yet, which is kind of funny. Because the intent of Rise of the Midnight King, or the intent it's going to be, is it's kind of a story where he's the side character in other Zenzia protagonist stories. So like Jen Bao, who's his friend at the moment, he's gonna end up embroiled in this giant conflict where you know, for the throne of his kingdom, and then Bao Bei's just gonna be on the side, kind of going along for the ride. And just the idea is just he's this unsuspecting, you know, uninteresting person that most people ignore, but he's actually the baddest ass in the room because of, you know, he's got the support of these mega goddesses, and he's been trained by them, so he's literally, you know, stronger, faster, smarter, better than everyone else there. But because he's just a modest, normal, chill guy who doesn't really care, he just lets other people get credit. So, you know, there's going to be stuff where his father's, you know, doing the cliche, you know, coming in as the black sheep and winning a competition, and Bao Bei is just going to be watching his father, like try to act all smug and just rolling his eyes. And at the end of the day, you know, Bombay, he's going to kind of be in the background, you know, saving the day for everybody else. So that's how that story is intended, because the humor behind it is going to be, you know, that other people are living the Zenzia life while he's kind of just along for the ride, and yeah. But the other story I wanted to write something with more of a World of Women feel to it, where like the young master is actually like exploitative and uses it to trick women and acts more brutally. Like, well, I don't know. See, if you get too brutal, then people don't like it. They get squeamish. They like the dominant forcefulness, but they also like the willingness, and that's where I feel like the dual cultivation technique comes into play, because these women want to grow stronger, you know, at all, any way possible, and so it ultimately becomes, you know, the that does it. Anyway, yeah, that's just an idea I'm thinking about. It'd be like he learns a dual cultivation technique. He uses it on his family, and then uses it and slowly seduces kind of the women in town, and finally gets a princess or the lady of a. So instead of him fighting the lords and having you know, the next lord mad at him, and he needs to cultivate so stronger to get to her, or to get to them. It's more like he's slowly seducing all the women. I don't know. It was an idea. I haven't written anything, but like I tried, you know, dual cultivation weighing, and it didn't quite come out the way it will. I might write a few other variations. I'd love to bring something that kind of brings back that snap flavor from World of Women back, where it's, you know, just very, that kind of smug arrogance where he's just kind of, you know, tricking these women into doing what he wants, so to speak. But it's really what the women want to, you know, your basic male wish fulfillment. I don't know why I can never quite get it get it right ever since. What tier level is your membership? I mean, this I can look at, but it's good to know who's doing what. If I get rid of the premium poll and chapters, how might this influence? So earlier when I looked at this, there was no one who said anything. Someone said they might drop a tier. Okay. But I am going to be doing that credit system, and the credit system I think is going to be far better than the premium poll as far as motivating people. And like I said from earlier, it's just the reason I dropped the premium poll is because it wasn't really doing anything. It was a lot of work trying to always keep writing these extra chapters and putting them up, and more often than not I was playing catch up on those rather than playing catch up on sponsorship chapters. And sponsored chapters are what would actually get me extra money, so that's the way I went. Alright, I suspend my release schedule 1 week every 2 months. This was my other idea, was to just work less. Not work less, actually. That's the thing. That's a misnomer. Even when I say I take a week off, I have never taken a week off from writing completely. It's always been, I'll be doing something else. I still have to check emails and make sure there's nobody who's having a membership problem. I'm still mildly working, so there's never been a day I've been completely taking off. But if I took another week off, what would I do with it? And I would be taking it off to work. I wouldn't be taking it off to. So I appreciate the people that some mentality just to take off more time and take it easy. But I don't think that'll necessarily help me. Considering my biggest stress right now is that I'm not making enough. I think my desire is to work more, not less. But the big thing is, while I'm releasing the chapters, it's very hard to focus on something. So if I just had 1 extra week off, maybe I could just focus those days on, say, getting an ebook out. And then maybe I could get 1 ebook out every 2 months. Which is still a lot less than I should be getting out, but it would make it much more possible. It seems like most people who are willing or wanting me to work extra or wanting me to use that time would be using it to get a week ahead. So the idea would be that that entire extra week I would spend writing ahead, and then hopefully I can maintain that 1 week ahead time for 2 months, and if I start to fall back, then I can refix it again that next week I have off. Ideally, that's what I've always wanted to do, but usually what ends up happening is the week before I take off, something happens, I get sick, and then I end up missing a bunch of chapters, and then I just had to spend that week recovering, and so I end up not ever getting ahead. I tried really hard to get ahead this week, and you might have noticed that I had my releases on Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday was actually, yeah, it was Thursday. I already had messed things up, so I'm already behind now, and so I wasn't able to go a week, and I did have chapters out ahead. I had, Mondays out had, and I had Sundays out in advance, but it's just very difficult for me to do that while I'm working. I don't know. I know financially, I think the best thing for me to do would be to take that week and get a book out, and just get a book out once a month. Like both weeks, and just do not worry about writing, worry about getting a book out, and once a month get a book published. I think that would be the best for my business, the best for my continuation of things. And I'm sure there's most people don't seem to care about the ebooks, but I think the ebooks matter a lot more than any of us realize. I'm not having any burnout issues at my current rate. I don't think that's a big issue. Honestly, I don't have as much burning out problems nowadays because I have And I know it's gonna sound bad and might anger some people who hear it, but AI, now makes things a lot easier. And I'm not talking like it's writing my books for me or something. I mean, like, I can have it generate ideas a lot easier. So I'll be like, okay, what do I want to name this person? Give me a name, and then it can pop stuff out. And it could give me, I was hiring for a while, because I had a lot of trouble writing erotica for a while. I would hire people as ghostwriters. I wouldn't use their writing, but I would use it as a scaffold for my own writing, just to help me with the pacing and stuff. Because there's only so many times you can write a sex scene before it all just starts to blend together, and I'm just trying, like, how do I space out a sex scene properly? And I just can't think of it anymore. So I used to just have a bunch of template scenes that I could use and modify to write the scene. And now I have AI that can literally, do the same. So that gets me through those moments, so I don't get stuck as easily. Which is how it's supposed to be used. I'm using it as a tool to enhance my writing. I'm not using it to replace my writing. So I know that still there's some people who are going to be against that level too, but I don't know. For the most part, there might be a phrase that gets in there that I'll go back and reread it and I'm like, oh, that's such an AI phrase. I should have deleted that. But for the most part, it's 99% of my writing, and if AI does anything, it's what I told it to do. It's not randomly generated. It's me explaining what I want to see and how I want to see it, and then usually not liking what it puts out and just writing it myself anyway. So, but once again, I like to be transparent. I'm not gonna be one of these guys like, oh, I don't do anything with AI. If I went on Amazon, I probably wouldn't click I use AI, because I don't think it's any of their damn business. It'd be like saying, oh, use a calculator as an accountant. Like, shut up. But I do, because I've used it editing too. I use it for editing, so I'll sometimes ask it to go through, and I use it for information as well. I will sometimes give it some chapters, and then I can ask, who was that person who did this? And that I really like, because it's way better than trying to maintain some complicated novel, whatever, book thing, but being able to just ask, hey, look through all these chapters. What did I call this person? And it doesn't work all the time. It's not. Sometimes it cannot bring me a name of somebody from 5 chapters ago. And I'm like, bitch, did you not read it? I found the name myself. But, I don't know. So, I have a love-hate relationship with AI, as I'm sure everyone does. But I'm not going to lie and say I don't use it. I definitely use it in the ways it's meant to be used, or at least the ways I think it's meant to be used. And most of my images these days are all AI, and that I'm not an artist. I'm not an illustrator. I could tell you for weeks about all the troubles I used to have working with illustrators. Working with illustrators is just a constant battle, and it's very expensive, and I used to blow so much money into illustrators, and I get better stuff back quicker and easier with AI, and it just is what it is, and I don't have to work with their egos. And there's some things Illustrator, like the AI, can't do. Example of which would be the comic strip, and I've tried. That's not for lack of trying, but the Isekai no Monogatari, if it is, where are you? Isekai, yeah, here we go. So Isekai no Monogatari, this is, the, book, the comic series that I was doing, and, I have, about 1 through 9, done as a comic, by a fairly decent comic guy. and then all the rest up to like 54 were not as nice. They were done by a different artist who, no offense, he was just a cheap artist I like to use back in the day, back when I originally started as a Monogatari. Um, and then I'm up to about like 112, and all of those issues are fine. I started paying him to do new issues, so I actually have a new issue out. He just finished it like a day or two ago, and I can put it out. So I'm gonna start launching those. Ideally, what I would like to do is I would like to fill the gap, so between 10 and 54, and if I get all of those done, then at least I have the first 100 all in the same art style, and I can go ahead and I don't know, try to sell it, try to see if anyone wants. Like, I don't know, it's people either like it or they don't like it. I don't think a lot of people are paying that much attention to it. But it's another one of those things I put a lot of money into. Each one of these is $60 in order to and I have close to 100 of them made. So you can do the math there. 120 according to this. I should have 120 comics made, and most of them were done at $60. So, yep, that's a lot of money I spent into art. And that's just that one art piece, not even talking about all the other art stuff I've done. But I'm still doing that, so that's coming forward. How do you feel about writing as a whole? It's good to see most people are fairly happy with my writing. MDL for combo reasons such as missing chapters on Skriddle. So this Coco has been went through, I believe, and fixed that. If this is something that happened a while ago and you just never looked back, it should be resolved. If it's not, please email us and let us know what's missing, because we think everything's good as far as we're concerned. When it gets too close to, it depends on what story. I don't do as much of that as I used to. You know, I did it on NTR, but that was an NTR story. NTR Isekai is an NTR story. I mean, so that's what those are for. What stories do I got where the girls close to... I don't know. There's MDL, like the recent chapters, I guess people are concerned, but I didn't feel like I wrote it that way that you should be concerned. I don't know. I guess people are annoyed by Richard, by the antagonist guy who's in the story, but I don't know. That stuff will, then a few volumes are gonna sort themselves out. But I guess some people are. Demon Brothel, no new chapters, but no one's also put any sponsorship into it, so I don't know. I get some real cheap, but it leaves me out. Like, if you're reading the Isekai NTR, the whole... I mean, it's not a new story. I've been writing it for a year or two. Like, I just don't, like... Don't read a story called NTR Isekai if you don't want NTR. Like, I don't get that concept. Like I don't know. Like I said, I don't use it in a lot. I don't think I use it in a lot of stories. Um... See, this was one of the ones that has kept me on the fence, because I'm pretty much at this point where, you know, he has his mom, and you could do incest, you could not do incest, and I'm thinking doing incest is going to put a lot of people off, but maybe I've already put too much incest already, because you know, I always play with the tropes. I don't know. That's current, like what's going on now, because he's with his mom right now. And I just wrote a scene, literally put it out today, where he almost kisses her. But I'm still kind of playing with it, like just teasing people with it, because I'm still not sure if I even want to have it go all the way. Like, I know what I want to do with it, but I don't think I want to go all the way with it. Because, like, the way I see it, or the direction I see it, is it's going to be like a scene where, like, I don't know. I don't want to give the scene away because it's eventually what I'm gonna write, but she's not supposed to be. Um, I mean, she's kind of part of the harem in the way a mom is part of the harem, not in an incestuous way. Because there's plenty of harem where the mom is part of the harem, but it's only in a silly, perverted, like oh, what's the story with Tout Lavrue, and he has his little sister, and she's. I mean, it's like they have the boundary, they keep the boundary, but they occasionally have perverted scenes, and I mean that's kind of where I want to leave it. I don't want it to turn into pure incest. It's not going to turn into WoW or World of Women. A totally different story. That's kind of how I feel. Which one is this time? World of Women. Yeah, I don't know. It's finished. It's been finished for a while. So anyone who want to finish World of Women, I don't anticipate. I might write a few more chapters of bonus chapters, but for the most part, I feel it's a done and dime story. I'm sorry if it didn't turn out to better. It was definitely an experimental writing. I made each volume kind of its own unique theme. So, the first volume had that very isolated, dystopian feel. The second one was like a high school, which then turned into an adventure. And then the third one was kind of this kind of whole adventure thing. The fourth one was almost like a noir, kind of murder mystery. And then the last one, is kind of like an around the world. So like I tried something different with each one, and I hope it keeps it interesting, and I know you either love it or you hate it, but that was kind of my thing with World of Women. It was definitely a more experimental story. If I don't, someone wants ebooks, yeah, I'm there with you. If I don't like the rest, I wouldn't pick it up. World of Women, they seem to be somewhat bloat after a while. Maybe a little bloat. Mostly because I'm not quite sure where to go. People calling Clyburn stupid. Nothing new there. The lolly content. I was never that gross with the lolly content in my dungeon life. I thought I did it pretty tastefully compared to other stories, because all it is they had the two girls and he kind of treats them like daughters, and they do silly stuff, and there's even a side story where she's just kind of being silly little girl. I don't know. I liked it. I don't think any of it makes me like I've pushed back a lot with a lot of that content, especially as my daughter's gotten to that age, because she's 13 now. Yeah, I don't describe by any of that stuff, and it makes me uncomfortable. Some of it made me uncomfortable back when I originally wrote it, but I like to use the tropes that are there, and some of them make me laugh. But I've definitely cut down on that stuff by leagues and bounds over the years. Maybe that's why I'm less popular. Maybe I need more lolly and more incest and more rape, because those are the things I've kind of cut down on as I write longer. I don't know. Is there any changes that occurred in the last 6 months that you did not like? That's some I actually didn't like the last volume of WoW. Maybe my exposure by returning to. Yeah, I don't know. felt it was too silly. I don't know. I don't think it was silly. I think it had its pretty rough scenes. Um, the kind of exploring the world part I thought was kind of nice because people kept liking the world and wanting to see more of the world, so it kind of just showed different countries and how they handled, you know, Clyburn as an existence. And the part where MC's 7-frame girls in a minute is dragging on a bit too long. Deke Sim's absolutely ignorant of the fact that one of his pregnant wives is still missing. I'm a little confused about that because he doesn't have any pregnant wives anymore. I don't think he got another wife pregnant, did he? Someone has to tell me because I have no memory. Because he got two women pregnant. This could be earlier in the story. I don't know. Unreliable release schedule. I understand that. Nothing come to mind because the stolen love themes that you were forced to make came out. After that, no nothing. I don't know. I don't think I was forced to make them. I wrote NTR Isekai mostly for funsies. And the NTR Crush, which was more popular, than the other. I don't know. Like a lot of people like the onesies. I don't know. I say I don't know a lot because I don't know. I've waited about 3 months for new chapters of Bully's Mom release, but still locked behind the membership. Oh, well, then become a member. If you're not a member, I don't know what to tell you. Too many different stories at the same time to lose quality writing, in my opinion. Well, I've done that since the beginning, so if you enjoy any of my writing, then it was all diluted from the get-go. Because I've never not been working on at least 3 stories at a time. If not more. Okay. Have you ever sponsored a chapter? That's really doesn't have anything to do. Do you have any complaints about the sponsor system? Yeah, that's been my biggest issue with pushing forward the sponsor system. I don't know what to do about if you're not a member, you're not going to read the most up to date stuff. You're not going to be involved in sponsorships. It's just how it is. I think if anyone wanted to read more stories, they wouldn't be looking to sponsor stuff. They'd be looking to be a member anyway. So I don't know. New chapters take longer than a week release. This is a problem I've had. I'm trying to fix. That's why I dropped the premiums, is the hope to be able to fix that. As of right now, I do not have any sponsor chapters out. I would like to try to make certain stories that aren't sponsor chapters. I know some people have voiced an interest in certain stories, picking up extra chapters that are not, but I haven't gotten there yet. Once again, it's just extra time, extra stuff. Any features you'd like to see added to the set? Better editing? I don't know. I have an editor. He comes behind me. I don't know how up to date he is. He usually doesn't edit like right away. He usually edits things in blobs. So he'll edit all of one story and then he'll go back and edit all of another story. I don't really follow him too closely as far as the stuff. The credit system, it seems to be like other people like the credit system. Yeah, he's going to be working on that after Monday. That was the hope. On certain websites like Manga Park, you choose to add or remove from a reading genre and certain themes from book selection. I don't know. My biggest problem is what is defined as tragedy. I mean, to me, those are kind of vague things. I don't write any story personally that I consider like tragic, except maybe one of my short stories, and like sure I consider I don't even know. Like some people would claim NTR Crush is a tragedy, and it ends with him like getting all the girls. It literally does. It's like not a tragic story. Um, so it's like it's just random. Like it's it'd be very difficult for me to post like these things better. Like what you're having an issue with. Like I know the only ones I can think of that are like flat out they are tragedies. The Zoo is probably a tragedy, which is not an erotica at all. Um, Please Help Me is probably a tragedy. Um, I wouldn't consider Master and Dragon a tragedy. Like I'm sure a lot of people didn't like this story because of how dark it gets, but it I wouldn't consider. You could call this a tragedy, and I think it's more of a joke story. Like I consider this incredibly humorous, but you could call it a tragedy because the guy dies in the end. So, like I just this is supposedly a tragedy just in our brothel and bars. But I'm not emotionally invested in necessarily in the main character who dies at the end. It's more kind of just it's more of a concept than a character driven story. It's like it's literally just exploring, what an undead brothel would be like mentally through the tour. The actual story portion is really small. I wouldn't consider Hero's Vengeance a tragedy either. I mean, yeah, the main character dies in the end, but the story is him going and getting all of his vengeance, and he kind of gets everything he wants in the end. So I just don't. So yeah, I people's opinions are different. Like I said, there's things that people call NTR where I'm just like, what? Like the mom having sex with the dad, that made the child who's the protagonist of the story. They're claiming that's cheat like NTR, and I'm just like, I don't get what to do here. If there was anything extra you wanted to see done, most people don't want to see anything after the actual release of ebooks. That seems to be the biggest one, and I do see a good chunk of people wanting the demo to that AV gun game done. We have been sitting on it for a year. Well, we were originally supposed to have it done like 4 months ago. Um, he just got me the images to start generating the AI images because he's got the 3D images all generated. So we wanted AI images too. We wanted to kind of give you guys both because of up here of this question. Are you working on AV game stories to spare time? And most people seem to want the AI animated images over the 3D models. So, yep. Is there any book you want to see on the sponsor list? Is Demon's Brothel not sponsored? I mean, it's a lot of the ones that aren't sponsored is probably just because I didn't realize they weren't sponsored. Oh, yeah. There's no reason that's not sponsored right now. I think the only good reason for it not to be sponsored is it's a shorter chapters. These chapters, I think I usually only wrote as 1,300 word chapters, and what money amount I'd want to charge for that would be the only question. I might just write longer chapters for it now. I don't know. We'll see. I can write 1,500 word chapters. That's fine. Make a sponsor and use the same as the other 1,500 word chapters. So, book else? Down in Ohio is being sponsored, so I don't know what that's about. Another World of Women volume. I mean, I've thought about doing that World of Women 0. I don't know what else as far as is doing another volume of that. I mean, I'm pretty much done with that story. I'm not sure. Other than random erotica. Um, Ghost Warfare, Hellbound. I don't know if any of these are currently sponsored. If they're not, they can be. There's no reason they can't be. I'm surprised Watch Hand showed up there. I didn't think anybody liked Watch Hand. So that's interesting to me. Guy in a Spaceship. Yeah, that can be sponsored. Enslaved is the only one that might have trouble getting sponsored, but we'll see. I probably could get all those on the list. If they're not already, which I guess they're not. If World of Women, I might be able to do World of Women 0, like I talked about redoing it. I don't know. Like I said, I'd love to do a story that kind of brought back the kind of the magic of the first volume, and I've never quite done that. And it kind of, sometimes things click and sometimes they don't. Do you know I have a website where the majority, this is just for people who are unfamiliar with it. This is one of those things where I'm just telling people who may or may not know. Most of them should know, but it looks like 40% didn't know, which is good. Now they know. That's the end of that. And then finally the conclusion of the survey. If you, nobody have anything they want to address. I can look into that. I don't think it's still a problem, but if it is, I'll look into it as soon as the stream's over. I miss being grandfathered into a higher tier. Yeah, that was a nice little bonus for people. Like I said, I'm not looking to screw people over for anything. I just, I'm trying to figure out a way that I can keep this profitable and make it my business. And I always feel like I'm just one step away from, being, just having that one book or that one just PR that gets, my stuff sold and sold at a decent amount. Because I was there. I was at that amount I needed. I was making $100,000 a year, and now at least where I live, $100,000 a year doesn't mean that much anymore. But still would have been enough for me. I just, not that I want another COVID, but it'd be nice if I could just. And then with AI growing, for all I know, more of my market's gonna get eaten up by AI. So that's unfortunate. Anyway, I wonder who all the Trump admin works for Deep State. Yeah, okay. Random stuff. Random stuff. I don't typically try to get political, although, I wrote that one book on politics back in 2016. Which ironically no, it wasn't 2016, it was 2020, and it did predict Biden winning the election, which he won, and it pretty much was accurate. No, it was written as a giant joke, but I thought in the 2024 speech, or their debates, I thought that Trump was nearly sounding as old as Biden. I think they're both. I don't think we need an 80-year-old president. That's my opinion. I'm not against Trump like some people are, but I do wish he would have stepped away, and I do wish his fan base would just let him have a successor. Let him step away, let somebody else take the reins. Because I don't know, I don't see the movement lasting, outliving him, because people are just too freaking caught up on him as the personality. I mean, I'm all for a populist movement, but It can't be centered around one guy who's already 80. It's not gonna work. That's my biggest argument for they're all saying everything's gonna turn into a civil war soon. I don't think it's gonna, because he's just too old. Anyway, apologize for not answering all the questions, but saddest and well, I'm sorry you're sad. I do hope my writing can help people. Can you fix the gallery for WPD? So there's something wrong with the WPD gallery. Do we have a gallery for WPD? I release them per chapter, but I don't think the gallery actually has anything. Is that incorrect? Women's Pleasure Dungeon is what he's talking about, WPD. Did I have characters? Yeah. Oh, because it has a random thing of text written there. That's when we were testing it out like 6 months ago. There is no gallery for Women's Pleasure Dungeon. If we deleted that would delete. So sorry if that gave you. There is plenty of chapters. There's one for almost every chapter. I do not have them for the last 4 or 5 chapters. I haven't been making them, but I did make one for this last chapter. I just finished writing, which I haven't posted yet. I don't know. So that exists. Alright, let's move on. As for you though, is this? I believe you're doing a good job, but even though some like haven't come to terms to read these stories. Yeah, I get some people are being private and not wanting to talk about it. But like I said, I always base it off of before. I'm not basing it off of like some unfound expectation here. Like I used to have 400 people doing stuff. I used to have comments 3 or 4 per chapter on some of the works we worked on. I used to have that stuff, and now I don't. So I don't know. I don't know why. Some don't want to feel like the outsider, even though. I'm sorry, just reading these. Some just don't want to feel like the outsider, even though for all we know, we could have anyone here all saying this. Yeah, I know. I'm kind of in that weird base, and I've wondered. I've honestly considered writing a. I even recently I was talking about taking all of my non-erotic works and putting them into a different pen name. And maybe separating and putting some distance from them. And I don't know if I should. I don't know what would be the best action. I kind of feel like having a more serious pen name might help with some of my stuff. Because, you read Whatsawhizzer and you're not taking the writing seriously. And I do it on purpose to a certain extent. Because if, I prefer people are... have low expectations and are pleasantly surprised over having high expectations and are being disappointed. Like the one guy I was talking about, World of Women, Volume 5 disappointed him because he had higher expectations. And I'm like, I like I said, so I downplay myself a lot with a lot of that. I try to keep expectations low so people are pleasantly surprised. But maybe that's my fault. Maybe that's on me because I just don't want to hype myself up. But then again, all that could be helped with a PR person who knows what they're doing. I just never can find one. Like I tried to hire someone once, and all they really did was play around with images, and charge me a lot of money. And I don't know. I don't know what a PR person would even do. That's kind of the point. I don't know what I need at this point. I've tried a lot of stuff over the last 7 or 8 years, and some people make it seem so easy to get stuff off the line. And if you ask for help, by the way, I'm one of the most successful writers around. If I go up and I ask for assistance, like on a writing site and explain my situation, I get attacked. Like, they do not like me because I'm successful. And so you'll have these people who are writing and who have never made a dime off their book or not gotten a single who are happy if they can get a single person to read their book, and they just get really unpleasant. Where's the you said where's the novel game question? Wasn't that right here? We have been working on AV game in a spare time. We can use 3D models, and it's 20% and 31%. And then down here, if anything actually wants to be done, 12%. 6 of the 50 responses. So not a lot, but still the third highest response over nothing, and just getting my ebooks out again. So it's more supported than a lot of stuff. Although I see a couple people writing Enslaved. I know a lot of people are annoyed I haven't put Enslaved out. And you know the reason I haven't put Enslaved out, and it's on me, and I am sorry about it, but I forgot a lot of the first 3 chapters, or first 3 volumes, and I need to go through and re-remember. And I started doing that, and then I just never finished, and now I'm back to not remembering again. And so I don't want to write volume 4 without having a strong memory of volume 1, 2, and 3. And I don't know, I just haven't been able to sit down and read through volume 1, 2, and 3. Like other stories, I've done it and it's gone great. Like I really enjoyed rereading Rise of a Midnight King. I really enjoyed rereading the Demon World Demon World's Brothel. And those, to me, are very fun reads. For me, and I'm the one who wrote them. But I don't know, I'm not that big into rereading Enslaved. Which is funny, because if anyone who remembers, kind of my love-hate relationship with Enslaved, I literally wrote Enslaved as, like, a sarcastic, joke. And it was originally called, like, Enslaved Pregnant Animal Girl Sister Harem or something with no NTR. It was the most sarcastic name you could come up with, because I literally just took a survey of what people wanted and I just made a book out of that. And so that was Enslaved's origin. And I've always struggled to write the protagonist because he's a know-it-all. And so as much as people tell me that, Clyburn's stupid, he's so idiotic, I struggle to write someone like Prince David, because he's always one step ahead of everyone, and it's just to keep that interesting, it's not easy for me to write, and I just don't like to read it either, because for whatever reason, I can't go back and reread Enslaved like I can do a lot of the other stories. So, as much as everyone else likes Enslaved, it's just not my favorite story, and I don't know why. I don't know. They got much more popular. It was as popular as WoW for a while, which used to be my most popular story before MDL kind of gradually took over. But yeah, it's just kind of funny. It's still got that cult following of people who want it, but it's just been so long since I went through it. I don't remember a lot of it, and yeah. But writing a character like that to me is just tedious. A character that knows everything just makes me tired. And so I had a lot of trouble writing chapters for a while. Alright, perfectly honest, I have no idea you had such a vast amount of works, which is why I do the survey, or at least one of the reasons is to let people know. I've been reading DL Dungeons Life for a little over a month. Just want to say thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate the thank yous. Like I said, that's the other reason I like doing the survey. It's nice to get some feedback, some people saying thank you. Most people are usually very positive. Readers always want more, so I just want to say that I just appreciate what you do and keep up the great work. While almost all of your endeavors, I always come back to Iron Hair to do a single-celled organism, which is funny because there's a lot of people who like APFSDS, went on and on about how much he does not like this story. He slammed the story, and now people are like, "Oh, it's so good." I knew it was a slow burn. I knew it was a story that was going to take a very long time to develop. It's from the get go. That was my biggest problem with getting that story off the ground was knowing how long it was going to take to get to where I am now. But I'm glad people are finally starting to see that all my slowness had a reason. And and there's people who are like, why is all the science in it? And I'm like, I'm a scientist. I'm a science teacher. I went and got a PhD in biomedical science. I didn't finish it, but I did all the I am a very advanced knowledge of biology and science, and it's just fun shoving as much as they're randomly giving you science lessons as I teach it, or as I tell the story. It was just a fun gimmick to put in the story. I also had the gimmick of having all the skills be bolded, and I just can't maintain that. I had to give it up because it's just too tedious. If I had someone, if someone wanted to have a job from me and to get free membership, if he's just going behind me and bolding all of the I'd probably say edit the whole thing, but the main thing being bolding all of those skills, I would consider that a worthwhile endeavor if someone wanted to pick that up with me. You got talent, kid. Thanks, appreciate it. I'm glad people recognize, or people can say I got talent. I like I said, I never know, because if I go to any writing site and I acknowledge that I think I'm pretty talented and I believe I could be making more money, and I ask people how, I get attacked. They hate that. They think I'm being smug and condescending if I tell them that I'm confident in my work, because none of them are. They're all insecure. Most writers, any writing site you go to, on Reddit, on Wattpad, on any of them, if you just go out and be like, hey, I used to make $100K a year, my writing hasn't been as popular lately, what should I do? They'll just be like, screw you. You made $100K a year on writing. I can't get a single writing done. And I'm just like, well, I'm pretty good at it. I'm confident. Oh, you're smug. How dare you? It's just angst all the way. It's unfortunate, but the best advice I've been able to ever get is by talking to AI, sadly, because AI is the only one that won't give me sass and will actually encourage me, and other than with that kind of stuff. So I don't know. Like I said, I just don't know. I don't know how people do it. I don't know how people. Someone will write one novel and be able to sell 1 million copies, and I'm write 50 novels, and I'm struggling, to have each one sell 5 copies. I don't know. Like I said, I was always more of quantity over quality with how I set this whole thing up in the first place, and I think my quality is pretty good regardless of that. I mean, it's just I don't have a PR person or a person that know how, a pro editor that knows how to put that extra oomph, cut out the stuff that you don't typically want in there. And technically, even, Stephen King had whatever preteen gangbangs in his stupid novels, so I don't know. I'm torn between that kind of, am I erotic novel author? Am I a dull novel author? Am I a good author? I don't know. Like I said, I was smugger about it probably 3 or 4 years ago in 2011 when everything was going up. But I guess the one nice thing about of having this lull period, having everything drop back down, is that it tempered me and didn't make me as smug about my situation or as overly confident which is probably a good thing. You don't want to think too highly of yourself. Too many people have fallen because they become prideful of their successes and think they're untouchable. But even if my stuff returns and I start selling, like hotcakes tomorrow, at least I've had that kind of period to be like, yeah, that money can disappear in a heartbeat. So you kind of appreciate it when you got it. And it hasn't been bad. It's not like I wasted. Like, I make it sound like I wasted a lot of money, and I probably wasted way more money than I should. But a lot of it went into buying this house, which, is probably going to be worth $500,000 by the time I retire. I mean, with the way housing market's going, and I waste a lot. I have a retirement fund I started, and I put a lot of money away for my kids, and I probably have enough to send my son through college, so that's a good thing. So, things aren't doing so bad. Could be doing better. The $20,000 in tax debt is not a good thing. That could be paid off if I just, my bank jumped up. I don't know. Take care of yourself, bro. Yeah, I'm trying. I got that surgery. Hopefully that'll clear out my nose, which is getting stuffier. And I can breathe better. I can start using a CPAP because I can't use my CPAP. That's been the big issue. My nose doesn't let me use the CPAP very well. You can change premium polls to be a smaller list of only sponsored books. The problem is there's just not a lot of people voting. There's only 10 people vote each week. And even when I announced it on emails and send out 400 emails, I only get about 6 people responding. So being on the email list doesn't seem to help. Doing great work. I disappeared. I do appreciate you continue to write. Despite the powers that be hating you. Yeah, I don't know. There's a few weird things that hate me. Apparently there's some Reddit writing thing that just, not a writing thing, but an isekai thing that where I'm really despised. I've heard this, these are just things I've heard. I've never seen it personally, but allegedly there's some Reddit out there where they even just asked, they tried to recommend one of my books and they instantly got banned. And apparently there's just a group of people who really hate me for because of NTR Crush. I get. I mean, that's funny. They claim it's because I'm an NTR author, even though once again I've written 2 stories that have ever had that to any significant extent. But I don't know. I mean, I'll play with the trope of the damsel being in distress, but I've never I don't like unhappy endings. I've never had pure NTR. I don't know. It's a weird thing that I got this reputation at some point. A new story where the MC can travel to other realities and change history during their brief stay. Where it's one or two. Your friend. A fanfic based on my own stories? I don't know. That would be a bit strange. I don't think I have a popular enough universe to fan fiction my own. I mean, if anything I had was popular enough then I'd have, there'd be fan fictions of my writing. If I can't get another author to write a single fan fiction of anything I've written, and I don't think me writing fan fictions of my own work really makes sense. Although the closest thing to this would probably have been the card game I was coming up with. So the Harem card game, the entire idea of Harem was that it's a love dating service where they match people together, a matchmaking service, but it's multi-dimensional. So the women and the men, pretty much can come from any conceivable dimension. So it kind of has that Rick and Morty style flexibility where you can really write anything you wanted. And the going joke in it was going to be, and I only wrote like part of one chapter. I never got very far. But the idea of it was that the main protagonist, he ends up working for it, and in pursuit of finding a match for his targets, all the women end up falling inexplicably in love with him. So every chapter, every volume, or whatever you want to call it, he'd go to a world where it's this omnipotent witch, and she like owns a castle, and she's like, a powerful sorceress that could bend reality to her will, and so he takes her to other realities, trying to match her up with a guy, and in the process, she ends up falling in love with him, and then it just goes with that, where he meets different girls. There's gonna be like a one from a zombie apocalyptic zombie landscape world. There'd be one from I don't know. It would have been nice. I never got it written. It never got very far. And that was what the card game was going to be. Literally was, all harem girls, in a way that makes sense, of every conceivable dimension. You could even add girls from my novels, because it'd be every conceivable dimension. So, Hannah Clybourne could be in there. Watchan could be in there. I was actually planning on having Watchan in there when I was at the height of trying to do that card game. But ultimately, there wasn't a lot of interest in it. Nothing ever really fell through. Keep up all the good work. While I understand that you write NTR, once again, I do not write NTR. Please don't give your characters trauma. And try to give them a happy ending if possible. Once again, I do not write NTR. Like, I wrote 2 stories that are NTR, and they're literally NTR stories. That's the entire point of existence. Nothing else of the 40-some. I mean, what's this? How many did we count here? We had a list of 47 results. I have 47 stories. 2 of them are NTR. One of them's called... No, both of them are called NTR. None of these are NTR stories. Now, you could argue Oops is an NTR story in the sense that he's taken, women who are married and banging them. So maybe you could make the justification for this as being NTR. But it's usually the NTR most people are happy with. So I don't know, this is not NTR, this is not NTR. Well, actually, this might have a little bit. He might steal a few married women. In fact, I think even right now he's with a woman who's married, or who's engaged to be married, and is seducing her. So he's definitely going to seduce some married women. So maybe that one is. I don't think this is. I think all of the women... I mean, maybe you could say the king got NTR'd if you really wanted to stretch it. This one, nothing. There's like no men in this story, so that's the easiest way to not have that one be NTR. I don't know. That's it. That's the last comment. Like I said, it was only 77. And yay, we're only in 2 hours. Usually we'd be out until 3. But yeah, that's my plans for the future, I guess. I'm probably going to go ahead and change this. I'm probably going to change it to a second bacterium. And that way, we can build up some gold bacterium in the future. I also know, and maybe I shouldn't say anything, but on Light Novel, I believe they turned back on the extra stuff for being able to push chapters faster. So if somebody wanted to push chapters faster on that novel, you're welcome to go that direction. But with me writing 2 a week, then that shouldn't be an issue. So that would actually resolve some issues of my own. So I'll probably write premium. I would love to work on Apocalypse And I just don't see it happening with the current schedule. Maybe during the summer I can pick it up and write Apocalypse. Maybe if I got to that goal, I could make that goal Apocalypse. So I might change that to Apocalypse. I might change that to Bacterium, a second Bacterium, and we'll go that route. But there you go. We'll get 2 Bacteriums coming out. One will be silver, one will be gold. Every month, every week. And then the silver will turn to gold, obviously, for you guys. I'll try to get the sponsor chapters out for the stuff that's missing sponsor chapters. Probably what I'm going to be working on next, though, is going to be the Hellbound. I'm going to try to get the rest of those Hellbounds out. And then once that story is nice and going, I'll start trying to get everything to have a sponsor chapter. I'd even consider trying to get some of the ones that are releasing weekly to have a sponsor chapter, because I wouldn't be against Banged being a chapter ahead, or Women's Pleasure Dungeon being a chapter ahead. So I might consider doing that, because that's all direct money, and I could use it. Anyway, if anyone has any questions, you can go ahead and ask. There's about 6 concurrent viewers. It's been about pretty steady for the last 2 hours. 38 views in all. Nice. And I guess thank you guys for sticking with me. Thank you for following along. If you got any concerns, let Coco know in Discord. Otherwise, I guess I'll call it a night. Alright. See you guys. 2 hours 16, that's not bad. It's a smaller survey. Hopefully we'll have a bigger one in June with the summer, maybe. Patreon, that button should be fixed by Monday. We'll be working on getting the credit thing out, which a lot of people like. I will probably start trying to get, like I said, 2 Bacteriums out a week, and maybe we'll fit in an Apocalypse. It'll probably stay a sponsor chapter until at least the summer. And that's it. Alright. See you guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.